Welcome back to another episode 91 of the Spittin Hoops podcast. We're back once again. We're about a month into the NBA season. Things are heating up, and we're as hyped as ever. There's too many things to talk about it, but luckily, we're here to cover just about everything. I lied. Maybe not just about everything. Today we're gonna today we're gonna look at like a third of the NBA too. So not everything, but if your team sucks, we're gonna talk about it today. And we'll get that out of the way before we cover, the favorites, the award winners, those types of guys in the future podcasts. Anthony, how are you doing? How are you feeling with the first few weeks of the season going?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. League's in a great spot, man. Yeah, I'm with you. We have to just talk about these bad teams. I don't think we'll be talking about them too much unless they get involved in trade rumors and things of that nature coming up, or there's some specific award things. So, yeah, we got a lot of great title contender situations going on. Thunder are an absolute juggernaut. Nuggets look pretty good, even though they lost to a team that we might talk about in a little bit. Lakers are a fun story. Spurs. Pistons are fantastic. Raptors and Heat, fantastic stories. Um, but yeah, we got to start with the bums, and we're gonna have a great time. And I also have a great fun fact for you for 91.
All right, well, hit me with the fun fact for 91 before we get moving on to the meat of this pod.
So not as good of a fun fact as the Yao Ming is 90 inches tall, but uh, as we're doing a draft themed exercise today, I was thinking about steals and steals of the drafts. And so I looked up steals leaders last year, and there were six players who had exactly 91 steals last year. And all of them are all-star level good guards or better. In Anthony Edwards, Darius Garland, De'Aaron Fox, Jamal Murray, Trae Young, and Tyrese Maxey all had exactly 91 steals last year. Only those six, and I just thought it was so interesting that they're
That's
all
great.
within the top like 3 to 12, best guards or 15 best guards in the league. So I
Yeah,
thought that was pretty
I
goofy
love that,
specific.
obviously. Yeah,
Yes,
that's
sir.
great fun fact. And with that, I guess let's move on. Sorry, I'm super hyped for this part of the pod. We're gonna
Yeah.
do something fun here. We've done a lot of drafts. We've done things like power rankings, but now we're combining the two, and we're gonna roast your favorite team. Today we're drafting the worst situations in the NBA. We are trying to come up with each of us are gonna draft four teams. Um, and we're gonna look at a pool of nine teams. We'll kind of get into this, but we're each gonna draft four teams, and we're gonna try to put together the worst four conglomerate of NBA situations. And this is kind of moving forward, both short term, long term. I mean, a lot of these teams have bad short term futures and not amazing long term futures either. But this will give us a chance to go over each of these situations and kind of analyze all of it. So I'm pretty excited. But before we get to that, I think it's pretty important to cover the fact that we're going to talk about the worst nine teams currently in the NBA. There are some teams with some probably pretty bad futures, like the Phoenix Suns of the world, arguably the Warriors of the world, things like that. But we're going to be really focusing on the Pelicans, the Kings, the Mavericks, the Clippers, and the Jazz. So those are all the teams that are 5 and 10 or worse in the West, and the same thing in the East. All the teams that are 5 and 10 or worse. So the Hornets, the Nets, the Pacers, and the Wizards. So we have this pool of nine teams. One team will not get picked, and so we'll likely talk about them at the end. So that's kind of this format we wanted to inherit with this. I think teams like Memphis, even Portland, etc., they'll get their shine too. They're good enough, or they'll get their shine at some point in the season. So that's why we wanted to focus on these nine teams.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And are we doing it as in we are trying to draft the worst possible future?
Yeah,
All
like
right.
number one pick should be the worst situation. I think that's what it should
I
be.
love it.
This is a hater app podcast. I feel so
I
bad.
love it. Um,
Um,
all right,
do you
Max.
want to go first?
Oh, okay. I'll take you up on that. Thank you. Thank you. So I'll go first. You get two, three, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Okay. So the team that I would, oh man, there's a lot of good, bad stuff in here.
Yeah, there's some horrible
There's some really horrible stuff. Uh, I kind of wish I deferred to you, but you'll help me out with this. I really would not love to be a Kings fan right now. I'm probably going to go with them as number one. So they're 4-13 to start the year. They did win last night against the Nuggets, and here's the squad. So Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan already doesn't make a lot of sense. Aging, good players, but aging guys. Sabonis just got hurt. Uh, Keegan Murray just came back, but haven't seen a lot of progression from him this year. Russell Westbrook continues to be an awesome revelation and great story, but I'm not excited about him as a building block, nor am I about Schroeder, although he's had a pretty solid year. Malik Monk, Keon Ellis, and then from there, I don't know. Max, maybe you have some guys that you're excited to see going forward, but in terms of what their future is, do you know what their like drafting situation is going forward?
So to be honest, the Kings actually have a pretty good drafting situation. The only thing that they owe San Antonio a pick swap in 2031. I don't even remember what trade that's for. So, right, but that's the only pick that they owe outgoing. So their pick
Hmm,
situation is pretty good. But to be honest, I think this would have been my pick too. I mean, the issue is here is like I think every other team has like something to look forward to, and honestly, like or some talent that they can extract from their team. And I think I have a really big worry with the Kings, where we're gonna come to the deadline and we're gonna talk about Zach LaVine or DeRozan or Sabonis getting traded. What are these guys getting you? I think that's like kind of a big issue
right.
that I have is like, even Dallas, who doesn't have any picks, if they tore it all down, they can extract value from their roster and they still have Cooper Flag. Um, the Clippers, for example, I think we'll get to them later. They're a unique circumstance, but even like the Pelicans, the Pelicans could extract value from this team in some way, shape. And Zion is still worth the first or two.
Hmm.
Um, I don't I don't know who's worth what on this Kings team, to be honest. I don't know if you're getting a first round pick for Keegan Murray if you want him to trade him because you just signed him with that big extension this offseason too. So um I will say if you're the Kings, you're just gonna get the tank and you're gonna finally get to be bad and pick high and like, there's that, but
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I was gonna say like, oh, what about Zach LaVine? But he's a
mixed
$48 million
and he's
cap hit,
expired. He is expiring. And there's a bunch of teams with
right?
with money. Um they're just going to wait for him to hit free agency. They're not Wizards aren't giving a first round pick to get Zach LaVine. They're going to wait till they have 100 million free agency and sign him with a 30 mil deal. For example.
Oof, it's bad. It's real bad, bro. And they're close to they're close to the first apron,
Yeah, it's
which
really
is
bad.
insane.
Yeah, it's not like Vivek's saving any money. And also it's like Sabonis. Like I think Sabonis theoretically is the guy that you could extract assets for, but he's also getting paid a ton. And his playoff situations haven't, given you the most hope, I would say. Um, I don't know, bro. I think this Kings team, I agree. I think this was a great pick. I think this is by far the worst situation. They don't have capital. They have their own picks, sure, but they don't have like draft or player capital in general that holds up. They're going to be bad. They're going to get to pick highly, but this is like a headache because you have to tear it all down. All these other teams have some, maybe. We'll get to them
Yeah,
later too. But like your best young player here is Keon Ellis, and he can only get on the court for 15 minutes a game, which is
it's
crazy.
unreal. It's
Yeah.
unreal, bro.
So great pick, basically. That's why I tell you, great pick.
Sure.
Um, I'm 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 in between a lot of teams here for the second and third pick. I think there are a few teams that I can rule out because their talent, they have like a level of talent that's too high. But I think there are a few teams that are in like dire situations. And I'm gonna go first and just get this team out of the way. I don't know if they're truly second or if they're third,
Sure.
maybe, but I think the Clippers has to be on this list.
Ooh, okay.
And so the reason for this, and so walk with me here because I will say the Clippers could be fine. Like the Clippers theoretically have a route to being okay. Um, Within 2 years, they basically have all their cap hits are gone. By 2027, 28. So not this season, not next season, but the season after that. The only person under contract is Zubats for 20 million, which is honestly a really good deal. They could probably get some value for that. But the issue is who are you signing? Who are you getting that is elevating your team that highly, where it makes it worth the fact that you don't have control over your first round picks till 2029. You have
Oh, it's
you're
so
gonna
true.
you're gonna have salary cap space 2 off seasons from now, but you don't have a first round pick till 4 seasons from now that you
Oh,
control. So you won't even get like because theoretically it's great to have cap space when you're a rebuilding team or not too great because you could take on bad deals, get young players, etc. If you almost can't afford to do this with this Clippers team, you're gonna have to go do this thing again. You're gonna have to go find another James Harden. You're gonna have to go find another Kawhi and try this whole thing again with just less assets, probably. And if not, you're just gonna be the Kings. Like, you're not gonna be able to pick young players. You're gonna try to create a win now team because whom God knows what, and they're gonna stall basically. This team is 5-10 right now. They've looked pretty bad. James Harden is kind of the only guy keeping them together. You're not getting an All NBA season from Zubats, and that means that like you have no championship ceiling. You don't have a contention ceiling right now, to be honest, and you have no route to rebuilding your assets. No route to replenishing your youth, and it's gonna be dire sooner rather than later. There's not actually you don't have an out card. So that's kind of my long spiel about this. And TBH, if you really wanted to get crazy, you could trade your 2031 and 2032 pick for the Clippers because you could probably get a lot for it because people know you're going to be bad by then. So that's the other side. I mean, if they double down, they could go really crazy and double down, but I can't see it happening.
Man, that's brutal. Welcome back, Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
Only 6 games played this year, but he's back today. That
If
yeah.
if they miss the playoffs, like what do you do? Like I literally don't even know. Do you just can you even tear it down? Like what do you get for Kawhi Leonard? Like I don't know.
Yeah, I mean you had
Sorry,
me
that's one big
reflecting. No, it's fair. You had me reflecting back to when Kawhi signed with the Clippers in the first place, and there was this big whoa, and then all of a sudden, a few hours later, Paul George's trade was announced. I was like, oh, well, that's a lot going back to OKC. And even in that moment, it felt like, oh, that's a lot, but they'll be good. And it's just been very sad. So I think honestly, you nailed it too with the fact that they've been so kind of close and like had all this hope. And they had really built it so well to lose Shea, rookie Shea, who you saw play against the Golden State Warriors in the playoffs and played very, very well as a rookie, to then get traded for Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, and now this is where you end up. So
And
tough scene.
to be honest, like there there's some sliding doors here because also like they do trade for James Harden. Like the last pick that they owe to OKC is next year's draft pick. So like not this draft, but next year's draft. That is technically the last pick that they owe to OKC. But doubling down and going to Harden extended their timeline to 2029, which they would be a lot worse right now, but then they would be closer to replenishing their picks. And so it's like also like they almost doubled down and yeah, it's tough. It's tough. This topic of comparing the Thunder to the Clippers is not going away for the next 4 or 5 years. And I think that's one of the reasons I have them down here. I will say, they have a great owner, great stadium, etc. Um, really good, really good extracurricular activities happening in the
They
front
do.
office. No,
Yes, sir.
but seriously, like if you were a GM coming into a team, Steve Ballmer is the type of owner you probably want. Um, but I still have them second worst. I still have them second.
I feel that. I mean, you got to respect an owner who will do pretty much anything that he possibly can to keep players around.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, I yeah, I think that I'm actually feeling pretty good with that. And then with my next pick, I'm between two teams,
Mm.
but I'm gonna have to go. Let me just double check one thing. Sorry.
Mm.
Um, I'm just checking the Brooklyn Nets pick situation. Damn, Brooklyn
Uh,
Nets have lots of good picks. I can't really find them. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take damn the Pelicans. The Pelicans.
Pelicans. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be done, right? So, um, the Pelicans, for context, and I think it's pretty important here to, I just want to start this with actually the positives with the Pelicans. I actually think they deserve some flowers because they made a horrible trade to trade the type of assets that they gave up trading up for Derek Queen was really like, much like it's unbelievable, frankly. It's going to come back to being a lotto pick plus a top five pick for Derek Queen because this Pelicans team is really poor and they traded their this year first round pick to trade up for Derek Queen. But I think it is important to be said. I think Derek Queen is actually a fantastic NBA player. Like I can't believe how good he is. Um, So that's why I don't have them as low as some of these other teams. I think there is some young talent with the Fears of the world, the Trey Murphys of the world, even with the Zions, the Derek Queens, etc. If you want to tear down this team and get all your assets back, you'd have a lot more assets than the Clippers or the Kings, frankly. So that's why I have them here. But in the meantime, for a year or two, it's going to be rough. They are in, half out, where Trey Murphy and Zion are on big deals. They want to be on better teams. You also have Fears. You also have, Yves Misi. You also have, like I said, Derek Queen, these younger guys who kind of need to develop. And actually, in the West, this team is cooked. So that's kind of an issue is that this year you're going to give up a horrible pick um, to Atlanta, right? If I remember correctly, that's what you traded up with. But moving forward, even you don't have a ton of assets. You don't have any assets left over from like this Anthony Davis trade and whatnot, So you don't have like this big pool of assets like the Nets or something can point to. So that's something I'm worried about. And you have to figure out the Zion situation. I don't really know how much he's worth, but in general, I think you could tear down this team and it'd be fine and build around Queen and Fears and be fine long term. But it's really going to sting in this next year or two. Like in this next year or two, I don't think they have a route to making the playoffs and they don't have their pick this year. So it's pretty horrible, to be honest. And I think a lot of these other teams have a little bit more assets and a little bit more young players and a little more flexibility that I like better.
Yeah, honestly, the terrible gets gone pretty quickly with this. Herb Jones is that a guy that they could trade? It looks like he's on a pretty team friendly contract for the
He
next
is on a
couple of
team.
years.
I agree, but he's been really bad this season, to be honest. He's been
Mm.
really, really bad. And like I'm not, and like this team is not in the dire straits that I think the Clippers are, for example, or frankly even almost the Kings are. But the only pick that they have incoming is Milwaukee. They don't owe any of their own picks, but this isn't the Nets have like four firsts from the Knicks coming in plus other picks from other trades. So like there's just levels of stuff like. The Pelicans, the amount of assets that they're going to have is going to be pretty significantly stifled for like about a year and a half. This team is going to continue to be bad for about a year and a half until stuff gets better, in my opinion, which is pretty unfortunate.
No, that's valid. Um, so with my next pick, I'm going to go with a team that I watched yesterday and just don't know what their future is at all in the Charlotte Hornets. Um, Again,
Hmm.
I don't think that there are
Damn.
that many
Okay.
like terrible, terrible teams. They do have most of their picks coming up in the future, and I think Con Knuppel, did I pronounce his name right? Has been
Hmm.
awesome. He's certainly a rookie of the year contender, and really like his poise in his game. Where I'm a little struggling with here is unsure about Brandon Miller's health. I do like Diabate, but this feels like just a kind of weird team. And I don't really know how they're going to get better. I also heard reports that LaMelo Ball has been unhappy with the team. And even if he is happy, it doesn't necessarily look like he was playing
Too
very
well.
free. And yeah, it just the ball seems to stop with him. And their leading scorer is Miles Bridges, who is just not a guy that I'd be happy to support as a Charlotte fan. So I think overall, this is a tough scene.
Yeah.
Um, Again, like there are some bright spots. I think Kalkbrenner's been a good revelation for them. Again, Diabate's solid and Knupple's solid. And I think maybe can you trade Bridges? Can you trade LaMelo? Could you? I mean, let Brandon Miller have a chance to develop because he's been hurt so much. But I just feel like this franchise has such a history of squandering talent and opportunity. Um, and they're in Charlotte, so that's who I'm taking with the fourth pick.
Yeah, I think this was a good pick. Yeah, I was picking between this team, another team, and not the Clippers, the Pelicans. I think that
Hmm.
cap space doesn't matter with this team. Probably not bringing in any big money free agents. Generally, Charlotte, you don't have a winning culture where you're going to bring an established vet who wants to win now, especially if other teams have money. A lot of the picks that you have your own picks, but a lot of the picks that you have coming in are like these worst of swap rights picks, are pretty bad picks. And how much do you really get for LaMelo making 40 million? So
Right.
I know he's 24, but. you're probably gonna have to ride this out, and so your future is a little bit defined by LaMelo for the next 4 years, making 40 million. Just not that big a deal when the rest of your team isn't making that much money. But I think I just don't know how good. Inevitably, I don't even know how good they could improve to in the next 3 years. It's I don't know.
Yeah.
They're not going to be bad
So,
enough. They're also not going to be bad enough
right.
unless they get a good lottery pick to. They really need to hit in the draft, and I think Canupa was a great pick, but it doesn't feel like they're going to be bad enough to get a top 3, 4, 5 pick in the next few years too. So we'll see.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Mhm.
So weird. Yeah. Yeah.
I like Charles Leo, kind of like the coach. I kind of
Yeah.
like. I kind of like the fact that playing Canupa like 40 minutes sometimes this season. I don't hate this team, but yeah, it
No.
doesn't the level of talent isn't high enough and they don't have enough flexibility. No.
It's a great league pass team for sure. They've been fun to
Mhm.
watch. But yeah, just in a weird spot. Um, and this is why this was a bit tougher to pick. I think with
Yeah.
Sacramento, the Clippers for sure, that's a fair one in New Orleans. And we could talk about some other teams in the future that just aren't bad enough right now this year
Mhm.
that are ahead of this. But now I'm struggling with my next pick.
I think now it's kind of like personal preference. Like I think all these
Yeah.
teams have like kind of significant flaws in certain ways. So
Yeah. And so to that point, I'm just gonna go with Brooklyn.
yeah.
Um, and the Wizards do have a worse record. But looking at this page, we went from the Hornets, who have LaMelo Ball, to now we go to Brooklyn with Michael Porter Jr., another amazing podcast guy. He's having a career year. Shout out, salute to him. But other than that, this is just a collection of pretty solid young guys. I think that you want to immediately get this into like how can we build up our rookies mode, and they have a lot of their picks coming up over the next couple of years, which is great for them. But I again, we look at the history of their management, and it has not been fantastic. Michael Porter Jr., Cam Thomas, Nick Claxton, Noah Clowney, Sarah Williams, and their rookies aren't really getting much run. So again, this is not like the worst situation to be in, but I would not be happy to be a Nets fan going forward.
Yeah, I think this is a great pick. I think this is the other team I was picking between. Yeah, they have a lot of flexibility cap wise, but there are some teams with more flexibility cap wise. They don't have that many young players. There's some teams with better young players. How much could you even get from Michael Porter Jr.? Even if he continues this crazy run he's been on, you're still hoping to be able to extract a first round pick for him.
Right.
That would be still be a good outcome. They do have a lot of picks. They're going to continue to get a lot of stabs at the draft. They have like 2 picks in the next like 4 or 5 drafts. So that's nice for them, and they'll be able to maneuver with that. But I don't really know if I have the confidence in them doing that. And it does kind of feel like this team is closer to continuing to bottom out. They feel closer to taking out their older players with more picks than like developing towards the direction of winning. So yeah, I think yeah, I would expect to see the Nets in the top 5 or 10 of the next 3 drafts. And I don't expect them to make any moves towards the plan, even with, they will have like 70 million in cap space next year. But,
Mm,
like they've shown that they want to accumulate assets, which is something they haven't been able to do for a long time. So,
right.
good for them. But
Right. Right. And so maybe that's part of this is just like you deal with the 18 win seasons for the next 3 years.
yeah.
And then, hey, you finally start getting a couple guys.
And yeah, I totally agree. And actually, that's exactly what the Wizards are doing, which we'll get to them. I think they'll end up being one of these picks here. Um, yeah, actually, they're going to be my pick next. Actually,
Nice.
oh well. Is that's our
You're
sixth
on your third
sixth
pick.
pick? Yeah, so sixth pick total.
Yeah.
Um, So at this point, I will talk about some of the teams that are left because I feel like I need to compare. But I think the Wizards are in a really great spot because they have tons of cap space, and then next offseason they'll have 100 million. So like Isaiah Hartenstein, if the Wizards decide to make him a Wizard, they can make him. Stuff like that can happen where they can just outright pay out people. Um, or they could use that money to take on bad contracts. But I actually don't think they want to do that. Actually, I think they will go into free agency and sign a bunch of win now guys, especially because, the Wizards, their cap space situations, they have a lot of money, but a lot of their guys are finally rounding into an age which is more closer towards the realm of winning. Bilal Coulibaly isn't 18, 19 years old anymore. He's 21 and he's about to sign his rookie contract extension. Sar is finally developing and he looks great. Probably the best
Hmm.
player in that draft outside of Castle, frankly, and maybe even better than Castle. As good as Castle's been, I really just think Sar is really that impressive. Um, and the only guy that you have under a guaranteed contract like 2 years from now is Corey Kispert, for example, on like $10 million. So you can continue to roll over this cap space. You have plentiful amounts of cap space. You have all your own picks. You have a Wizards pick, you have a Warriors pick coming in, I think in 2029, which is kind of underrated. I think that pick would probably be really good. So I actually think this Wizards situation is really good in general, but they just don't have a Cooper Flag like the Mavericks have. They don't have a Tyrese Halliburton like the Pacers have. And, inevitably the Wizards will get a top 4 or 5 pick this year, but they're still really draft dependent. And as much as there is young talent out here, there's not enough young talent to put them beyond the echelon with some of these other teams. I will say I do think the Wizards are closer to being a play-in team than we realize. They will make more win-now moves than we expected in the next few years. Because these guys are going to go into the 21 to 25-year-old range instead of being in the 18, 19, 20-year-old range. So like AJ Johnson was last year, for example. So
Right. And they have some helpful elements of you got CJ McCollum, you got Chris Middleton, you got guys who have either won a championship or have been deep in the playoffs and can kind of help
yeah.
mentor some of these dudes.
And they all
You have a
expire and they all expire. So
yeah,
you get them for
right.
the season and they pass all the knowledge and you don't have to pay Chris Middleton 33 million after this. Is you don't have Michael Porter, that's a good example. I know Michael Porter Jr.'s contract is kind of weird because it's partially guaranteed. But you're not carrying a big salary cap number moving forward. You have tons of flexibility here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this I actually didn't go with this team. I went Brooklyn over this team because Sar, Keyshawn George,
Exactly. Yeah.
Trey Johnson, even Cam Whitmore, even and then maybe give Coulibaly a year or two more to see if he can figure it out. But you definitely have some more established. I've been here for a bit now, guys.
Yeah, like the Nets have way more picks, but I don't know if all those extra picks are going to translate to guys of the level of talent of honestly Keyshawn and Alex Sar. The
Right.
Nets will have their own picks and the Wizards will have their own picks, and a lot of those will be good picks. But the extra picks that they're getting from the Knicks and etc. is that going to make up for the talent gap of like the Alex Sars and Keyshawn Georges the Wizards have? I don't know. I would rather bet on having Alex Sar and Keyshawn George. Um, yeah, I actually really like this team. I think they're really well run, the Wizards, like just like front office wise. I don't know if their ownership group is that great, but they have Will Dawkins, the former OKC assistant GM, and his asset accumulation, young player accumulation is really interesting to me. And I think we're going to see some timeline accelerators in the offseason. So I'm kind of curious.
Mm. The future thunder of the East
Yeah, not
coming
enough
your way.
assets, not enough assets to do that, but
Crazy.
But I mean, walk here. Sorry, not to spend too much time with the Wizards, but walk with me. Like, if you get Isaiah Hartenstein, you have him and Sar for the next 2 years. Then you have Keyshawn at the 3. Let's say you sign a good shooting guard. I'm gonna give you Zach LaVine, for example. You have the money to do all this. I know it sounds kind of like crazy, but Zach LaVine, Trey, and then Trey Johnson maybe takes over from him within a year. Or you just go get a point guard. Maybe get Van Fleet coming off an injury at a little bit of a discount. That team in a not too big good East is at least we're talking play-ins a little bit.
Maybe. And just to push this conversation a little bit, and we can come back to the draft in a sec.
Yeah.
Uh, we did talk about how bad the East was going to be, and it is interesting to see that there's only 4 teams that we have on this list that are on the East.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's not that the East is good by any means, but does Toronto continue to be solid? Does Miami continue to just be solid? Those might be actually weird hurdles for Washington to jump over.
Yeah.
And I think we both had the overs on Toronto and Miami.
Yeah. So we're
Um,
calling, yeah. But you're right. Like those are obstacles. And that's why I was saying I think they'll push towards the plans. But you're right. The East is a little deeper than we expected this year. And then Indiana's going to be back, which we'll get to them later,
right.
obviously. But yeah, I agree. That's why I don't think it's a guarantee, especially with these Eastern teams. But I mean, obviously the Western teams are like, it's cooked out there. But Yeah.
It's so
Right.
cooked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But like, I also think the Eastern teams, like, Milwaukee's 11th. Like, you're gonna have to be the Giannis team,
Right, right,
and obviously Giannis is out right now.
right.
Just using that as
You got to beat Ryan Rollins. Um,
kind of hard to do right now.
dude,
Wizards legend.
yeah, he's
Did
a most improved player
you know?
definition.
We got kicked off the Wizards because he was stealing from Target. Did I tell you about this?
Dang.
Yeah, that's why he
Really?
got cut because he was in the pool trade and then he got cut from the Wizards, and that's why he went to the Bucks. Like he wasn't in the Middleton Kuzma trade or anything like that. So
You know what's crazy? Sometimes you got to go to Milwaukee to learn a lesson the hard way. Just like go live there. Like,
are you roasted?
nah, nah, nah. They're chill. They're not even on this list.
Yeah,
They got a chip. They're good.
and they could trade Giannis for more assets than half these teams have. I mean,
For real.
okay, my pick again, right?
Yes, sir.
Um,
This is tough.
this is really tough. So the teams we have three teams left, right? We have Utah, Dallas, and Indiana,
Indiana.
right?
But I
I'm gonna
actually feel like
pick.
this is not tough.
I think it's not tough. I'm picking Utah.
Yeah, yeah.
I think Utah. So okay, Utah is not in a horrible spot, right? Like they have good young talent, and I actually think their players um, are better than we expected. Like the Keontae Georges, even like the Isaiah Colliers, who looked kind of rough even like a year and a half ago, like look better. Utah also
Mhm.
has picks coming in. They have swap rights like Cleveland or something. They have swap rights like Minnesota. And then they have like a Phoenix pick in 2031 from some salary dump. I forgot what it is. Um, but to be fair, player wise, it's not on this caliber of Dallas or Indiana, and the margins are big enough for the lack of picks that Dallas has, for example, isn't made up by the players that Utah has. Utah, they have really good young players. Jury's still out on Ace Bailey. Jury's still out on how good Keontae George is. Jury's still out on if Walker Kessler, who they were trying to trade like two off seasons ago, is going to come back from injury properly. You
Right.
know, and jury's still out on if anyone would trade for Lauri Markkanen at a $45 million salary number. Um, I think this team is fine actually because I think they have a great coach, pretty good front office, lots of assets, but they contending is not really on the cards here for a long time because they still don't have top end talent. That's just like the name of the game is you need top 15, top 20 guys. And honestly, I don't see a top 15, top 20 guy in this roster. And I don't really see a path towards acquiring one with an accumulation of assets or something. They're going to have a lot of picks in the draft, but you got to draft well. And like and that's the same situation a lot of teams are. They have a little bit better players, obviously, than like the Wizards of the world, right?
Yeah,
But, you know,
certainly.
there's, you don't have a Cooper Flop, you don't have a Tyrese Halliburton, you don't even have a Pascal
Right.
Siakam, so.
Right, right. I mean, I'm a big fan of Keontae George. He's been amazing. But yeah, the Kessler piece of it being out stinks. This is a fun like team by committee kind of situation going on. I mean, they came into Boston, they beat the Celtics. They've had some solid wins, but to your point, the talent gap is just not very good, and we saw that. They played the Thunder a couple nights ago, and the Thunder went on like a 33-4 run to essentially blow them out. So
And
yeah,
they should have some cap space, but is somebody going to go to Utah? I will say, if I was a free agent and I was really good and I wanted to win somewhere, I might go to Utah. But the best free agents just get traded anyway. So it's like, the best type guys again who are going to hit the market are the Hartensteins of the world, and that doesn't take a Utah team towards the Pacers and the Mavericks enough. As much as we said, we do like these young players.
I was seeing some rumors about Utah like requesting trade offers for Lauri Markkanen and one of almost like the Pistons for a bunch of guys and some picks because the Pistons have a bunch of their own picks going forward.
Yeah. But if you're the Pistons, I kind of just want to keep drafting and see where my team goes. I
Right,
kind of like that's the thing. I kind of don't want to. They already have some. They're already so good with so many young players. I kind of just want to play it out. Ron Holland, even Isaiah Stewart isn't even in final form. Thompson
right.
isn't in final form. Jaden Ivey is not in final form. Obviously, he's been hurt. Cade isn't even in final form. So I kind of don't feel like I want to make a win now trade right now from them. That's kind of my issue.
Yeah.
I would have
So
liked to
weird.
see them do it in free agency, like via free agency, bring in an
Mm,
established guy, like instead of like the Tobys and the Hardaways of the world, as much as Toby
mhm.
is pretty good and it's pretty good at what they do. But like I think that was the way if they were gonna make a big win now move, Like go get Paul George, when he was free agent 2 years ago or something. Like that bad example, but
Right. Um, yeah, and I think this was probably unanimously between you and I, like the toughest last or the easiest last one to team to pick here. Um,
what do you mean?
like they were cut above the rest of the teams that we drafted.
100% agree. 100% agree.
And this is really tough because I think no matter what, I'm gonna pick a team that's gonna be a lot better next year.
Mhm.
Um, oof. Yeah, I guess, man. I mean, I feel like everything is telling me to go with you have the best player, supposedly he's going to be amazing in Cooper Flag coming up, and you'd think that that would be the team, but I guess I'll go with the Mavs, actually. And it's not because I don't think Cooper Flag's going to be great. So if we end up clipping this or whatever in 3 years, and then you can put like a clown mask on my head, great. Yeah, let's look at the team. Anthony Davis, chronically critically injured all the time. No backcourt. PJ Washington's great. Max Christie, I think, is actually a really good player.
I agree.
D'Lo is D'Lo. Najee Marshall's another great guy. Brandon Williams is solid too. Klay Thompson is just like a tough piece, and they had a different vision when I think they got him. I don't. I mean, there's definitely going to be a fine direction forward. This team is so much better than these other teams, but at the moment, the way it's constructed, they might just have to be a growing pains team and let Cooper Flag figure this out without all of the, hey, you actually have a loaded roster. So I think with the team that we saw last year in the Pacers, how good they were, how collected they were, the way that they flowed, they were really good. They were like a buzzsaw through the playoffs, dude. And I think for the next few years, I think I would prefer to have the Pacers than I would the Mavs. So I think I got to go Dallas here.
Yeah, I think I honestly totally agree. I think an underrated part of the Pacers here is that they have all their own picks. If everything were to go
Yeah,
shit, you're still fine. Dallas, they have their own pick this year. They don't control their own pick till 2031. If Cooper Flag gets hurt for a year next year, and you trade away Anthony Davis, etc., you're screwed. It doesn't matter. You don't get your own pick. So I think that's like an issue here. There's no margin for error. And that's actually why I think Dallas is going to tank it out this year. This is the last year they control their own pick again until 2030. They do have some incoming picks. They have like the Lakers 2029 pick. And they do have some of their picks like are getting swapped. So they won't not have a first round pick completely like in 2029, but it's not gonna be a good one, for example. So yeah, I totally agree. I will say I'm really curious to see what they could do if they tear down this team. I think they absolutely should, Dallas. Whether that's extracting all the assets you can for Gafford, AD, etc. I think you absolutely should. Um, and guess what? Like honestly, with Cooper Flag, your floor is going to be pretty high, even though the West is tough. Like I actually think they're not going to be able to bottom out because they're kind of going to be a little too good, and you're probably going to stop Kyrie around. That's also another element of this is Kyrie's going to probably need to be here for a while because post injury, I don't think he can be traded till next offseason. And even if he plays a bit this year, his asset value is not going to have enough. So Kyrie and Cooper Flag are probably going to be pretty good for like the next year and a half, for example. So like I still like them better than like the Wizards and stuff like that. And like, but the lack of picks is just so rough. Then Pacers have their own. Pacers have all this talent. Pacers are probably going to add another top five pick this year. They are the best situation out of all these teams. I think maybe that was obvious. Maybe the NBA Finals appearing team from last
yeah,
year
perhaps a
shouldn't
game
have been
seven.
grouped in this. Yeah, I totally agree with you actually. And actually looking back on the way we picked, so we picked Kings, then Clippers. That you picked the Kings, and I picked the Clippers and
Yep, Pelicans.
the Pelicans. Then you picked the Hornets, the Nets. Then
Yep,
I picked the Wizards,
and the
um,
Jazz.
and the Jazz. And then you picked the Mavericks. That's actually the order I'd pick Vegas. Okay.
Yeah, there are teams that we did not talk about today that have worse futures for sure. And maybe if we do this again, they will
Yeah.
have slid out of the mid-tier teams that we might talk about in the future.
I mean, that's the thing. Maybe it was a hack to include the Pacers here because obviously they're going to be the last team. I mean, for example, you'd take them over the Suns. You would take them
Right.
over, frankly, probably the Blazers. You would probably take the Pacers over. what are some other teams here? The
Pro-
Grizzlies.
Probably the Grizzlies, probably the Bulls.
Yeah. So,
For sure the
maybe it
Bulls.
was a hack to have them here. What if I flip this on you? If we added the Grizzlies in here, where would you have picked them?
Oh, I probably still would have. They would have gone instead of Dallas. I think you let the season with Ja like play out and see what can happen, but he's been really bad, and he's out for another week at least. And Jaren Jackson Jr. is averaging 18 and 5 as a former defensive player of the year. So I don't know. I mean, they got Edie, they got Coward, who's been solid. Aldama's all right. I don't know. Where would you put them?
Yeah, I I wanted to stir the pot and put them under Utah, but I think yeah, you're right. There's still a little bit too much talent, and they have so much picks from this Desmond Bain trade. Um,
Right.
they are actually kidding them. If they blew it up with Ja, they would actually, frankly, if you got two first round picks for Ja, you'd probably become one of the most asset rich teams, in the league because you're also going to have cap space, et cetera, Coward. But I have a underrated take. Is Jaren
Okay.
Jackson going to become a horrible contract? Like he's played pretty poorly. I don't know where I would rank him in the league, um, in general. But on this Grizzlies team specifically, I don't know how he's going to demonstrate his capabilities as a player in some extreme way. And starting next year, he's getting paid $50 million a year for the next 4 years. Not
Oh,
this year, starting next year. So
oh.
is that going to become a horrible contract? If he's getting paid $50 million, so he's 31. Jaren Jackson's never even been like a healthy guy. Um, and frankly, like I don't want to rag on them too much now, but I would argue Jaren Jackson is having his worst season in like 4 seasons too. So
Yeah. That signing felt desperate when or the extensions felt desperate.
why did you just trade him? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, why did you? I just don't know why. Like, hey, Jaren, we want to ride out this season. They must have been that scared that he was just going to leave in free agency. And honestly, if you're Jaren, you probably could have. A lot of teams have a lot of cap space this season, but 50 million is a lot, man. Let someone else
That's
pay him that. Let someone trade him. Let someone else pay him that. I know it's horrible, and you just traded Desmond Bain, but
right. And it felt like them trading Desmond Bain was a way of starting this process. Like
can
why did they trade Desmond Bain?
isn't it fine? Like, didn't we watch Atlanta have a good team with Trae Young and then rip down the team and then keep Trae Young around and rebuild the team? And it actually kind of worked out. Ja, like, we're not getting four first round pick offers for you. We're gonna blow up the team next year. We're gonna rebuild the team with a great young team around you because we tried. It didn't work with this other team. So we're gonna like, why couldn't you do that? And then guess what? What if you want to trade Draw at some point, you can still trade Draw. But I think like paying Jaren this much amount of money is like not a great idea. I mean, yeah, it's really not.
No, it's tough. Oh, the more we talk about them, the more they ought to go on this list. They beat the cutoff by one
Yeah,
game, one win.
yeah. I would definitely put them under Dallas and Indiana. I still can't put them under Utah because for all the faults I'm saying about Jaren Jackson, he's just basically Laurie Markkinen with an extra year on his contract. So
Yeah, but Lauri
I'd still,
Markkanen
I'd
just
rather
feels
have
like
Laurie
a more
Markkinen. I'd
yeah,
rather
he's a
have Laurie
more
Markkinen. I
offensively
can't believe
dynamic
it.
player.
Yeah, I can't believe that. I mean, Jaren Jackson's Defensive Player of the Year like not too long ago,
3 years
right? So
ago.
yeah. So
Um, man,
anyways,
brutal.
well, I guess that wraps up our draft. Is there anything else we want to talk about? I feel like we talked about a lot here.
I mean, just any like general thoughts you've had on the state of the league?
Not too much. I kind of think like I don't. I'm kind of curious to see what happens to trade season. I kind of like I don't know where Anthony Davis is going. I think a lot of these trade numbers are going to go back down. Like there's too much cap space flying around the league in the next few years where teams are not going to be willing to give up like four firsts for a guy.
Hmm.
That's kind of what I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, like the no more Mikal Bridges type trades.
I mean, the thing is, Mikal Bridges, those types of trades, there's always going to be some sort of market because he was a trade that was like, I'm going to be a good team for the next 3, 4 years. My first probably aren't that big a deal. And
Hmm.
Mikal Bridges puts me over the top to being like a top five contender. I think there'll always be kind of a market for those trades, like whether it's like Aaron Gordon to Denver. I mean, he didn't get
Hmm.
traded for that much, right? But like, you know. There was always kind of going to be a market for those kind of trades.
Right. Um,
Like
yeah,
if Detroit traded for Lauri Markkanen, they'd probably be trading 30 for picks, you know. So like I think those trades still will exist, but listen,
right. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of like, man, this is just fun. The East is the one thing I was gonna say that I'm like totally shocked about. I think you and I were talking about the Knicks and the Magic and the Cavs, and then the top three are Detroit, Toronto, and Miami. Which obviously that we're early, so that can change pretty quickly. But Miami just won.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Can I say I'm not too moved by like the Knicks or the Cavs not being there because they're basically almost there. And as
yeah,
much as like, the Magic are only like a half game behind like the Cavs or something, I have been a little bit worried about the Magic. I think I would love to see them add more 3-point shooters. I think maybe paying in free agency for KCP 3-point shooter and then just swapping him out with first round picks with another 3-point shooter wasn't my thing. Just maintain that completely. Like Tyus Jones is really hurting my brain right now. I kind of think, what if you just had like Corey Kispert, like instead of like not even a point guard? What if because like dude, Franz and Paolo and these guys are the ones holding the ball anyways. Like what if you just didn't have
yeah, they might have been crowned a little too early.
I crowd I'm guilty.
Uh nah, it's tough though. But I will say that the league looks great. I'm very happy about my Maxi take. I think he's been a friggin' baller. Love VJ Edgecombe. I think you drafted him, right? And he's
In a
been
different like, yeah,
in a
yeah.
different league, but he's been
And
great.
super.
Um, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I yeah, they're Yeah, I do want to talk about Portland at some point. Portland is so funny, bro, because dude, like these ringer guys are talking about Denny Avdija being a top like 20 player, bro. And I'm like, dude, Portland is 7-9, man.
Yeah.
What are we doing, dude?
Yeah.
Like dead ass.
They're
Like I like Bill Simmons on his last pod, like ranked Denny Avdija like top 25. And I'm like,
sure.
I yeah, respect.
26, 7 and 6. I
He's
mean,
he's having a great season. Yeah, great
yeah,
season. Like, don't get me wrong, but like, I
but
those it's not translated to wins, bro, when your team's not that bad.
right. No, that's so
You
true.
actually you actually have a pretty good team. Like Don McCling is having a pretty good run here. Shaden Sharp is just classic Shaden Sharp, which, take that however you want. But like
Yeah.
your team's not that bad, bro. And you're like losing record and I just I know you have a lot of stats, but it's just like
Yeah.
is Denny
Uh,
Avdija that much better than Keontae George? So that's fine.
it's the what's been tough for me. Yeah, Portland's weird. We'll see. I think you and I both had them like as like fringe, maybe playoff guys.
I'm just not ready to overreact to these guys who have like 15 games this season of really great stats that are not like completely like their development, but they're not exactly in line with like that's why Denny and Keontae George is like good comp for me. Like Keontae George is like 23-7 this season on like 44% from the field, even though he's shooting horribly from three. But like, I can't rate Keontae George too crazily yet, dude. It's been 15
Hmm,
games, man. Then he did too. He's great. He's a really good player. Well, don't get me wrong. I'd bring him like top 40, top 45, but like at least. But
for sure.
top 25 is like, do you think Denny Avdija is better than Derek White right now?
I mean, not to like go against him, maybe.
I
I
just
mean, the way he's playing is so good.
I guess
And
that's
Derek White has not been so good.
I know, but he's playing with, he's not great, bro.
It's not great over here.
The Celtics aren't great. Like that's
Celtics aren't great. They're 8 and 8. The Celtics are,
Derek White is better than Denny Avdija. They're 8-8. No, that was no. Okay, actually, Denny Avdija probably is better than Derek White. That was better call.
um,
Do you want Denny Avdija over Jimmy Butler?
yeah. Now, yeah.
Nah.
Because Denny Avdija is like on his way up, and Jimmy Butler.
Like no, like right now. If you want to win a chip this season,
Okay, this season, no. Yeah, I want Jimmy Butler still.
45% from three this year.
Yeah, Yeah, he's been a great shooter this year. Great
Sorry,
shooter from the free
now
throw
I'm
line too.
just I just spent the whole lot. Yeah, great shooter from three, dude. Great free throw line shooter.
Yeah, what's up with that? Why do they keep talking about him and Steph's like free throw line percentage?
Dude, my drift king. That's why. I don't honestly though. I don't want to talk about the Warriors because they're bad and they're not that
Yeah,
good.
bro.
So
I'm with you, bro. The
I don't
Celtics
want
are
to.
bad too.
Oh, yeah, all right. Anyways, I'm done roasting Bill Simmons' take because he's the Podfather, and I have his book somewhere in my shelf under here,
Shout
so
out.
I can't I can't roast him that badly. Yeah. With that, anything else you want to talk about? I was pretty much up from there.
Oh yeah, man. This has been great. First six of the season, off to a roaring start. Excited to see how much the shuffles up over the next couple of years. And you know what we do, man. We'll be here as always. Spitting hoops. About to have some Thanksgiving food in a bit. Looking forward to that. And we'll holler at you soon. Yeah, getting after it, bro.
All right, it's Sunday. You're starting early, Doc.
Yeah, it's got to be the whole week for me.
Yeah, it's Boston things.
Yeah, just lock in.
That's what they had the first one, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. Famously, actually, turkey I heard today was not a part of that dinner,
Wait, what?
but venison was. In
What's
the
that?
Pilgrims, venison like deer, because the Native
Oh,
Americans, the Wampanoag, like hunted deer, and then they were like, "Oh, here we got some deer." And the Pilgrims were coming from England, and over there you couldn't kill deer because it was like the king's deer, so they were like, "Oh, this is some unreal." So they
oh.
were super hyped.
Have
And
you ever been to Plymouth?
yes,
Damn.
I have. And the Rock is it's okay.
Okay, that's where they did the Thanksgiving, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, that's why I was. That wasn't just like. That
No, no, no. I'm with
wasn't
that.
just,
I'm with that. Yeah,
yeah,
we do have Thanksgiving supremacy
yeah.
here.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah,
Honestly, fake out Thanksgiving, fake out holiday though. I'm
bro.
down for it. Like I'm super with it, but like fake out holiday.
Dude, nationalist holiday, Civil War, bring the country back together holiday for real.
Is it really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Apparently it's the first recognized like official federal holiday in the U.S.
Really? Before Christmas?
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, bro.
Thanksgiving used to be a different day of the year in November for each different state, and then as the U.S. federalized, it was the first one to become a national holiday.
All right. I have a lot of jokes popping up in my head, but before I get canceled off the air,
Yes, sir.
we're gonna leave you there, and that's your Thanksgiving history for the day. I don't think there's any games on Thanksgiving, by the way. NFL supremacy alongside Massachusetts Thanksgiving supremacy. Not rocking with it though.
Gang.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. All right, y'all. Much love. We'll be here as always, Spin Hoops. See y'all soon.
Peace out.